agreed with our offer to be visiting professor in the winter semester at our faculty, and we will introduce and show his current work. And he is a co-founder of Sue Architekten, which was established about 10 years ago. And in spring this year, their different architecture offices in Vienna, they gathered, and right now their studio is about 20 persons, or maybe more. It's quite huge, and they are working on a very interesting project he will show us right now. So I'm really glad that we can welcome again Christian Ambos at our faculty as a part-time teacher, and share moments with him, and he will teach our students. Welcome. Professor, let us that the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Peter, for the invitation. I will start right away. With Franz and Sue are like me and you. We have this kind of proverbs. I have some stickers with me. I can show you afterwards, but they're in German, not in English. But I like this proverb because it says like it says something about our work, the way we work. Franz and Sue are like me and you. We are team players, and I will ask you to also be team player in your oncoming career. Architecture is getting more and more complicated. You cannot oversee the building anymore in all the details. As an architect, you are on top of the some sort of you should oversee everything, but you don't know the details. So you have to rely on all the other persons working on a project. You have to have a good partnership with your contractor. You have to have a good partnership with all the construction companies, with all the other planners. So you have to rely on them, and you have to work as a partner with them. And this is the way we want to work, and this is the way, I think, which is the future of being an architect. This is our team right now. After our marriage of Franz and Sue, we currently 40 people work in our office. Me, Christian Ambos, and 4 partners. We also run interns for half a year currently, always. And we are working mostly on, I would say, 3 kind of different projects, and I want to show you some of the typologies today. The one is public projects. Public projects we acquire by competitions. So for that we have some sort of small competition department, which is currently doing about 30 competitions a year. The other one is housing. We do multi-story housing, especially in Vienna. And the third thing is we're doing is small and beautiful interior design stuff, shops, restaurants, bars, and so on. Which is some sort of typology we were doing right from the beginning when we established our office. This is the SFZ, is the Sammlungs- und Forschungszentrum. It's a central archive and workshops for the Provincial Museums of Tyrol in Austria, which is placed in Halle. We won this by a competition with 170 entries, and we won that by the idea that this is some sort of a storage building, and it should be a storage building, not a museum. But it's a very special storage building, and the special storage building comes out from the values we present. This project was handed over to our contractor and handed over to the people using it some weeks ago. What you see here is a facade which is quite rigid, but it's. I start with the side plan. This is placed in Hall in Tyrol. Tyrol is a mountainous area in Austria, there's one main valley going through the whole province, which is very densely populated. But there is no urbanity within this, except from the old city centers. There is no urbanity in Tyrol. There's just urban sprawl going on all around, and it's you have a lot of small houses, bigger houses, and some structures. You cannot really. This is a hospital. You have all kinds of different structures, but our program was so huge that we found it's not. It would be necessary not to show up everything on the top level, but to place the program to dig it into the earth. So you see only 1/3 of the program on the outside. It's like a strong, rigid cubical design, which is strong to the outside and has two faces. There's only one entrance, you can see here, and everything else is more or less closed or orientated toward the inside. And also this entrance door can be closed during the night, so it's like a big safe container for all the very precious archive for the Tyrol museums. The idea is of having a strong outside, but on the other hand, we designed it like onion rings. On the outside, you have all the archives that don't need air and light, and we have the offices and all the workshops orientated towards the courtyard. So the courtyard, the inside, is completely different to the outside. And there is one ring corridor going around. This is the entrance. So you have, from the outside, this is like the surface. You're entering here, and you see a one-story building, which is cut into the earth. And on the inside, you have a completely different experience. When you stand down there, you don't think that you're 3 stories on the ground. Okay, this is the ground floor entering here, with the corridor going around, with the archives on the outside, workshops here, archives here, and the offices and the workshops for people towards the interior courtyard. When we design, we always think of values in terms of architecture, and what kind of value would represent this building. It's foremost consistency. With all these precious items inside, you should say to the outside, this is a safe building. Everything which is finding place here is safe. And also self-confidence. This is the side view, the facade to the side. There's one contribution to the need of having air in the workshops area here. The entrance by, and this is the staircase. When you come inside the building, this is like the ground floor, level 0. You're going down 2 stories, and here you can already see the interior courtyard. There is one thing for easy orientation. This kind of corridor always has doors, glass doors, that you can see from the corridor towards the inside courtyard, and they have an orientation where I am. The good thing about digging in this whole structure is that you don't have any climate problems. you need a stable climate of 16 degrees there with a certain humidity, and this is provided by placing like 2/3 of the facade to the earth. This is the interior courtyard, which is somehow designed like a cloister courtyard. And here you can see some pictures of the archives for paintings. We also have stuffed animals there, which is a bit strange. But yeah. A second project I want to show you is the Provincial Court in Salzburg, which is a building which exists from 1905. And by then it was designed by the architect Alexander von Wienemans, who did a lot of projects within the monarchy. I think there is also a project in Brno here. I think it's a courtyard building in Brno. And he was designing this with the black roof courtyard building and with the red courtyard prison. The values of that building was representation, to show off, to show the majesty of law, to tell the people everything which is decided in this house has some value. It's not to be asked anymore. And on the other hand side, when you enter this building, you feel small. You feel small because there are high ceilings. You have no orientation. When you come in, as the inner courtyards were used for the prison, all the windows to the inner courtyards were with diaphragm or with opaque glass. So when you walk through the corridors here, you have no idea where you are. And this is makes you some sort of helpless. We won the competition by thinking about the whole area. The area is very close to the historic city, or it's like the port to the historic city center. And we were thinking of how should the court building in the 21st century look like? What are the values that are transported? And could you use the building in another way? We were lucky because the prison moved out, so the program changed for that reason. We could demolish these two blocks, and these blocks, because they were more recently built in, the building itself is a heritage listed building. So we had the possibility to restructure the whole building complex. So this is the former Provincial courtyard. This is the prison, and we demolished all the buildings in the inner courtyard to create a new ring. And there were numerous entrances towards the inner courtyard, but you couldn't use the inner courtyard. You could use only this entrance to get into the building, and all the other entrances here and here were closed for security reasons. So we introduced a fourth entrance, and make an open space, a public space in here. You can enter from 4 directions. You can cross the building complex. You can have a small break here. It's like an interior courtyard. And the next step is we built on a new building, a Y-shaped building in the inner courtyard that contains all the court rooms. So, except from 3 historic courtrooms on the outside ring, all the offices situated on the historic part, and all the courtrooms are within this Y-shaped new building. The whole structure made it easier for orientation. You can now follow where you are if you walk in the corridor. And you can have the big round, or you can have a small round in the Y-shaped building. And as you enter here, and there's already an atrium going through all the stories, you oversee, as a foreigner, when you don't know the building, the building quite easily. What are the values we want to transport with a new courtyard building? A courtyard should be independent. And it should have equidistance to all the parties that are that take part in a trial. You should trust on a verdict. You have so accountability and transparency is something which is quite important for a courtyard building. And things that didn't change, you still need dignity. The people have to accept what's going on in a court building. And so dignity and self-confidence is also a real important value for a building, a court building. The site plan, I already told you. We have 4 entrances. We have one main entrance into the building. So when you go into these historic entrances, you just bypass the building on the ground floor and walk into the inner courtyard. And as there are different levels, you enter here onto the first floor, overpass here, and go down again into the lower courtyard. There's also an archive on the basement, which gets some light with this court. And when you enter here, there's a security pass. You can, and here we've got the service center, like the first place where you can go when you enter the building. And here you have the atrium. The atrium is 5-story high, and it provides easy accessibility and the idea of how this building works. Here we have a story, a regular story with 6 courtrooms and always a meeting room in between 2 courtrooms. Section, and this is an image how it should look like when we finish up the project. We have this big courtyard here. We have the courtyard for the basement, and here is the entrance, and you can see visible. You can see into the courtrooms. You can see you can have the idea what's going on in there. Trials in Austria have to be public, so everybody can attend the trial, and you can already have the idea of what's going on from the outside. So there is something going on which should not be concealed. So for that reason, we make it visible. When you enter through the safety control, you are here within this atrium with a glass roof, so you get some light in, and you can already see the areas in front of all the trial rooms. This is what it's looking right now. This is the Y-shaped building. On top of the building, we have a small cafe with a terrace. It's quite a scenic construction style, I guess. Here you have the idea of this Y-shaped building. The idea is that there are some sort of slabs that are like that are shifted within the courtyard, and that are like cantilevered or make a bridge within the old exterior walls. This is the view from the cafe, from the inside to the outside right now. Yeah, and the atrium is going to be very spectacular. That's how it looks like right now, because it has the same typology as an ancient theater or as a Baroque theater. You have this kind of multi-story illusion where you can look onto the old facade, which is behind the scaffolding. And the old facade is going to be lightened and going to be insulated. Here we have the glass roof. And this is a meeting room right now in the Y-shaped new building. Yeah, this is how it looks like from the outside right now. And you saw, like right now, mostly parts of the new park, but it's also about 20,000 square meters old building, historic building, a listed building, and we are dealing with a lot of different kind of tasks, issues with an old building, and it's also a very interesting issue for me to think about how to work with an existing building, how to bring in with some small changes a new design, how to think the way a building is working, an existing building in a new way. Another project I want to show you is quite difficult task. It's a detention center for illegal immigrants. A few years ago, when the competition was published, we were thinking of is it a good thing to take part in the competition? No. But we saw that the assignment was quite open, and the thing which was asked was on a very humanistic way of had a very humanistic approach. So we said, okay, we could enter. We can make a good contribution on that. The thing is that this center is for people who are not criminals, but they have to be detained as they already have in the last step of their asylum procedure, because when the authorities think that these people will live as a submarine and already have a negative asylum, they are not allowed to stay in Austria. Legally, some of those are detained in order to bring them back into their home countries. But those people, most of them are not, they didn't do any crime. So we said, okay, we don't have to deal with criminals here. We have to deal with people, as criminals are also people, but we have to show them in the last moment, as they are in Austria, that also with these people we think it's necessary to have a humanistic approach to that. This is quite an innocent place. It's in Vordernberg, which is in the Heist area, a very mountainous area, and an area that was suffering from industrial decline. It's an area where iron was produced, and there were a lot of people living there. Like Vordernberg had like 5,000 inhabitants 50 years ago. Right now it has 800. And they are struggling for every job there. I guess for that reason it was the only place in Austria where the mayor said, okay, we want this building. The assignment said you don't need to build a wall. like in a prison. Not on all sides. You only have to build a wall towards the street, and on the other hand side there's a creek running through the valley, and a steep mountain with trees, with a forest on. And on this side you don't need the wall. You need the wall only on this side. And we said, okay, we use the design of the building. We make two parts of the building. One part is the building for the authority, the offices. And we have a very rigid facade here. And the facade is already our wall. And on the other hand side, the more freely designed area is the area for detainees, where we always have a courtyard adjacent to the rooms. And the middle part contains the facilities, like the library, the fitness room, the room for religious services, and the shop. So where the offices and the detainees meet. And usually the typology of a prison is you have one finger, and you have the cells to each side of the finger. But we said we want to have, we split it up. We have one unit on a U-shaped, always on a U-shaped courtyard. So you can see into the courtyard. You can walk into the courtyard. You can use the courtyard, and there's always. The people can move freely within their unit. There's like one unit here, and there's a outside place that they can use. There's a kitchen here. There are several, except from the sleeping rooms, there are several other rooms that they can use. And here you can see on the connection with the rigid office building to this kind of dwelling unit. There are the facility, the meeting room, the prayer room, the shop, and so on. This is now the view from the creek, from the mountain, and it has two faces. It has a more or less friendly face, and to the outside it says, okay. The village is safe. And we dealt there with little details. It doesn't work like in a prison. The guards, they cannot shelter themselves. They have, when they are in this guard unit, they are talking to the detainees at the same level. There is no upper level or lower level, and the people from here can see what's going on in the inside. This is now the meeting room, the living room of one unit, and this is a sleeping room for 4 people. And here also we try to, by the design of the beds, there are 4 people stuffed into this room, and this causes stress. And we were thinking of designing the beds in a way that there is some sort of shelter, also in this kind of room. So these were 3 public projects we did or doing right now, and now I want to show you 3 housing projects we were doing in Vienna or currently doing in Vienna. I want to emphasize on each project on a specific topic. This one is called Mittelweg, housing estate for about, I think it's 80 apartments in Vienna. Place is placed in Simmering, a district in Vienna, with its there are famous or the world famous gas tanks, and the whole area is going to be built up right now. You can see right now the whole area is going to be built up with multi-story housing, but in the vicinity there is still greenery and still small-scale gardens and industry, old industry, which is on the decline here. So this is the lot, and we were asked, the law says you can build a large building here and a point building here, and we developed two kind of typologies for these houses. This is the ground floor. The slab building is for houses, mostly small apartments, and it's the assignment asked for doing houses for especially elderly people, but also be able to change typology within the house, to have small apartments and to have different typologies within the house. So the typology we were introducing or we were proposing was we're having on the south side, we're having deep apartments, rather small apartments. And this is the ground floor, so you have the facilities like the bicycle rooms and workshops and whatever onto the street, and 3 staircases with elevators, and the main entrance here. So you can walk down the street on the inside to get to your elevator, to get to your apartment. The ground floor apartments have a garden of its own. On the upper floors, the typology changes. The typology, right now we have a three span here. 1, 2, 3 apartments, so we have bigger apartments here and the small towards the south, and the bigger ones have cross ventilation. And on this building we have bigger apartments. We always have apartments which have on the corner have a free space, a terrace, balcony or loggia, and have 1, 2, 3 sleeping rooms in the living room, or 2 bedrooms in the living room. And the more interesting part is this slab here, because it has two faces. It has a face towards the street, and it has a face towards the park. And towards the park is the south. So we introduced a balcony area here with deep balconies and balconies going all along the facade. So you can exit from every room to the balcony, but you also only have a bigger space for a table or so in front of this. But the important thing about this is we can change typologies here. Here you can see different from the last story where you have the big apartments with cross ventilation. We also have again small apartments. So we have this kind of small apartments toward the south again, and we have a new typology. We call it the mini loft because it's faced toward the north, but it's not so deep, so you get more light into the apartment. And you have get in here, and you have like the distribution in the apartment along the facade. So we have different faces of this building. We have to the south the open facade with the deep apartments, and to the north the more closed facade with the not so deep apartments. This is how it looks like on the inside. This is like a small apartment now with a loggia, a kitchen unit. And the point was that you can easily adjust an apartment. You can could change the typology here. You can make out of these 3, 4 units, 1, 2 different units with cross ventilation. even on a later point, later time. Yeah, this is the vicinity, the gasometer in Simmering. Another project which is built right now is a housing project in Bruno-Marek Allee in the Nordbahnhof, which is a former rail yard, which is developed right now. It's going to be, it should be apartments for up to 20,000 people. Half of it is already built. But the problem in the Viennese urban planning is always the units are too big. And you cannot create a neighborhood when your house is 100 meters long. And you have like 100 apartments. You don't know your neighbors anymore. This is the Nordbahnhof, the Danube. This is the railway station right now. Here we have the city center, and this is the former rail yard. Like 50% is already built up, and our lot is here, and it's gonna be on a main road of this area, because there's gonna be a tram car going through this road, and it's gonna be a shopping street here. And our lot was this size, and we said, okay, we have one contractor, we have one developer, but we need to split it up in smaller units, because you have to be able to recognize your house. Or so we played a little trick. We widened up the facade and have setbacks again. We made this with a little trick in the Viennese building laws, and not only by the facade but by its height. So this is the facade towards the street. We have higher buildings and lower buildings. And the higher ones, they have apartments towards the street with lodges. And these areas are used as roof terraces. And on the ground floor, we have the possibility to house several shops. This is a floor plan here. We also have here several staircases with elevators, and we always have apartments facing the street, apartments with cross ventilation, and apartments facing the courtyard. It's a bit in a similar typology as I showed you before. So this is the image how it's going to be look like when it should be finished. So we have a little play of the windows. They are all in a different height, and they are also in different sizes. And we introduced all the free spaces also in the facade. So there is nothing going outside the facade. All the lodges are integrated in the facade, except from this building. But this has to do with the Viennese building law. These are rented apartments, and these apartments are sold. And as you can ask for money for a lodger in a lease, you cannot do when you sell the apartment. That's the reason why Vienna is looking like that. This is the back. In the back we have also some houses into areas where we have lodges and areas with a solid facade. The third housing project I want to show you, it's not really a housing project, but it's also a project in a urban development area. It's in the Sonnenwendviertel, which is also a former rail yard, the former rail yard of the Central Station, or the South Station as it used to be called. It was an interesting project because it is an interesting project because we are not only the planners there, but we are also the developers. And we were looking together with colleagues to find a new office, because we thought as I told you, with him, working in a team is quite efficient and helps you. So we were thinking with colleagues with 3 other offices of how to find a new office or how to build our own office, and we were applying for a lot which was sold by the Federal Railway Company, and we had to hand in a concept for that. And our concept was to create a house with a multifunctional house, because in this area right now they build up mainly apartment houses, and there are no offices, there are no shops, it's just all apartments. And that's not the way a city is working. So the city now thinks it's better to have a kind of mixture, and they asked for several lots to do this mixture, to bring this kind of mix of use, and the houses the lots that are sold here, they have to make a contribution to the city. So they have to make something more, bring something more to the city than just to be an office building or just to be an apartment building. And we won this by having a multifunctional house. This is the site plan. There's going to be a big park in the middle, or it's already finished, built up. And this is our lot. It's quite small, and it's behind, in front of a garage building. This is the railways right now. They are gotten smaller. And this is the house what we have. But the urban situation is quite interesting, because here the street, this area, is a pedestrian street. So there are no cars within this area. There's only one car road in the back that delivers the cars to this kind of garage buildings. But here on the park and here there are no cars. And here we have kind of a small little square. So we thought of what can we bring to the city here. And we said, okay, maybe it's not so easy to have in a newly built up area. It's not always easy to have a restaurant or so there, because you can hardly afford to have a restaurant there. So, but we suggested to have an office building mixed with apartments. So we can have a building that can have both offices and apartments within the same structure. And we said, okay, the ground floor is very important, but as we cannot afford to have a restaurant here, we have 4 offices here with about 150, 100 people working here who need to have lunch. So we at least can have lunch in our own cafeteria. So we said, okay, we managed to have someone who's running the cafeteria. And this person has the safety, the economical safety to sell 100 times lunch every day. And this helps her to run the restaurant also in the evening. And we have the place is big enough. We have the assembly hall. The cafeteria works also as an assembly hall that can be used for associations around, that can be used for lectures, and we called it Das Haus, the house, because we said it's going to be some sort of a prototype house that contains offices and apartments in the same time, and brings public life into the urban context, and is an architectural house. As we are 4 architectural offices who built the house now, we said, okay, we need even more architecture. So we have an architectural association, the Federal Architectural Association of Austria, housing here, and we have Architecture in Progress, which is a small corporation which is doing conferences and lectures for startup architectural offices inside the house also. So this is our mixture. We have our cafeteria, we have the Architekturstiftung Österreich, we have Architecture in Progress, we have Franz Sue on 2 levels, we have a software company which is dealing with CAD bin, and we have 2 other offices here. And on top we have apartments, but we have ability to build the apartments within all the floors. This is the ground floor design. We enter the building through the cafeteria, so we have one big table for 60 architects having lunch together. The kitchen, here we have the public offices for the Architekturstiftung, and here the facilities, bicycle room, and we have the core, the staircase, elevator, and so on facilities. We have designed 2 cores. There's only, as a load-bearing structure, the outside walls, and those 2 cores. So this is going to be our office. Our office will have 2 stories, and we will connect these 2 stories by having an atrium and having a connecting stair, or even more. And this is one story with apartments, where we have an apartment with a loggia, and another one with a loggia or with a roof terrace, and 2 apartments as designed as maisonettes. Yeah, and this is how it's going to look like in about a year. We already started the construction. One interesting thing is we are working now with prefab concrete units with inside insulation. Like there's concrete on the outside and on the inside, and there's sandwich panels with insulation inside. We are doing a lot of scales. As you saw, we think big and we think small too. I just want to show you 2 kinds of different projects we are doing right now. This one is, we run the design for a new metro line in Vienna, the U5. And we're doing the first station buildings right now. And we also do some really small scale. This was a really beautiful project we did for a friend who got this house from his grandmother who died, and he asked us for doing an intervention, just a very small scale intervention. He didn't want to demolish the house, he didn't want to build it up or renovate the whole house. He just wanted to have bring the garden into the building, or the building to the garden. So we opened up the building here, and in the second step he had this kind of wooden shed, and he asked us, I need a working space in the summer. I don't need it in the winter, because in the winter I'm working in Vienna, but in the summer I need this kind of working space. So we built this 100-year wooden shed. We just introduced this kind of facade here, glass facade, and opened up the building from the inside. We just placed these kind of wooden panels here, and you can enter the room through this kind of locked door. This golden door, you shift it up with a cord. Yeah. So far, I would say thank you for listening to my lecture, and I hope it was interesting for you. I'm still here for some questions if you want to. Yeah, thanks a lot for listening.